Hello and welcome to another episode of the Uncommon Energy Podcast. On this week's episode, we're going to be breaking down the results of a few tournaments that took place this past weekend, ones in our current standard format and also ones in our future format with cards from the Paldea Evolved expansion coming out very, very soon. We'll look at some new cards that were recently revealed from the Pokemon Card 151 expansion. Give our thoughts on them. Nothing super crazy, but one card that I think Azul and I both think seems pretty solid that we're excited to give our takes on. We'll, of course, have Guess That Flavor Text, everyone's favorite segment of the podcast. And we will wrap up this week with our meta forecast for the slew of tournaments this coming weekend. Milwaukee and Santiago regionals happening, and then, of course, the Torino special event in Italy as well. Three major tournaments. It's going to be an action-packed weekend for the Pokemon TCG for sure. My name is Chip Ritchie, and I'm joined here, as always, by my friend and co-host, Azul GG. What's up, Azul? How we doing, man?
Doing pretty good, Chip. And before we get into the regular breakdown of everything, got a big announcement this week. Me and Chip have talked about doing this for a while. A couple of you guys have asked the question of where it is, and we've decided that we're going to be starting up a Patreon page. Some of you maybe saw the tweet that was put out yesterday, where we kind of tweeted out that you can, get on the wait list for when it's coming out and when it's dropping. And we do plan to probably make it fully available later this week, probably looking at Thursday. But stay tuned for that. But Chip, why don't you go ahead and let the people know what they can expect as soon as our Patreon opens up?
Yeah. So with the Patreon, we didn't want it to be just something where it's like we put it out there. People can show us support to say thank you for the content we're doing currently. We wanted to provide a little extra value for those who want to show us that financial support. So we, every single week, are going to be doing a 30-ish minute extended episode after our normal podcast. So I think the first thing to definitely cover is that, you know, we are adding this Patreon, but we are not changing our current structure, right? The current Uncommon Energy podcast is not changing, not going anywhere. Everyone is still going to be able to get this podcast totally for free, exactly as it is. This is just going to be a little something extra on top. So an additional 30-minute episode every single week. And where we'll spend the bulk of that 30 minutes taking questions from those who are our Patreons, whether it be questions about a deck that they're preparing or a tournament that they're getting ready for, or whatever else, Pokemon related or not. Azul and I are going to pick a couple questions each week to answer in that extended episode that's going to be taking place. We're just literally going to keep recording after our normal
Yeah.
episode end would be and just keep rolling into the bonus episode. So hopefully that'll be something that everyone is going to have a chance to enjoy. Those of you who do choose to support us in that way, we are super grateful for. um and at that tier level, that's going to be called the uncommon support tier, and that is going to be a $5 a month. So for $5 a month, you're getting an additional 30 minutes 4 to 5 times that month, depending on how many weeks there are in that month, right? Because we do one episode every single week. So I think it's a pretty decent value when you look at like the hours per dollar spent, something like that. Basically a dollar for every 30 minutes, right? Something like that. And then we're also going to have an additional tier for anyone who wants to go that little extra mile. And that is going to be our ultra rare support, which is going to have the same stuff, right? You get to be a part of the Q&A. You get to hear that extra bonus episode every single week. And in addition to that, we're going to be mailing out everyone in the ultra rare support tier a card from Guess That Flavor Text that Azul and I are going to be signing once a month. So every single month, you're going to get a card signed by both Azul and myself that is going to be a card that we had featured on Guess That Flavor Text. Shout out to our buddy Kid for that pretty fun idea.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm excited about it. And that tier is going to be $25 a month, just a little something extra, um, just to show your support, and you get something cool to kind of take away with it as well. That's going to be signed by myself and Azul, and potentially stamped as well with the Uncommon Energy logo. We're working that one out, but that's the plan at the moment, at least, is that it'll also have a stamp on it that has our logo. So excited about that. You can sign up for the waitlist now. I'll leave a link to it in the description of the YouTube video, and it will be going live, like Azul said, later this week. Azul, any other thoughts on the Patreon? Anything else I didn't cover that you want to throw out there?
No, I'm excited for that to do the Patreon for sure. For anyone out there who wants to show us that extra support, that'll be the way for you to support everything me and Chip do over here on the
And it's going to help us
Uncommon
do
Energy podcast.
more things in the future too, right?
Yeah,
Like we want to be able to take what we make from the Patreon and reinvest it into doing more cool and unique things for the podcast. We've got some kind of fun ideas in the future that Azul and I have chatted about, and so hopefully some more of that will be coming as we get into the summer.
yeah, definitely excited for everything with that. And then yeah, I mean, definitely be sure to get a little bit reckless with the Q&A. Doesn't have to all be Pokemon related. Anything you've ever wanted to ask us. Of course, obviously, if you go a little bit too far, we're not going to answer the question. But if you want to know what our favorite pizza toppings or something like that are, feel free to ask that kind of stuff
Yeah, sure.
as well. And I'm sure we're going to be coming up with a couple of our own, probably a little bit more lighthearted, casual topics to include in those 30-minute episodes.
Yeah, not strictly Q&A every time, right?
Yeah. We'll have some other things that we might throw in there or talk about as well. So yeah, excited for that, all that. And then yeah, it'll be live later this week. Check out the description for the waitlist link. And then yeah, I think it covers everything we need to talk about with that. We're getting ready for we're both getting ready to play in Milwaukee this weekend. But before we got into uh what is the saying they used to say? Regularly tuned or your regularly scheduled.
Your regularly scheduled programming.
Yeah, it was like on my mind, but I couldn't remember what they said. I did want to make a comment real fast, not going to dwell on this very long, about last week's episode. We talked about the whole Rowan situation. And someone left a comment saying it seemed like I hated Rowan, which I definitely don't hate Rowan. I do want to kind of like wrap up my whole take and opinion on this in this quick like 20 seconds to say I don't think Rowan is any kind of extremist. I don't think Rowan's friends are any kind of extremists. But I think going out of your way to call them extremists, or going out of their way to fully exonerate them of, is exonerate the right word, of any responsibility for potential actions, which is kind of like the, on the sides of the spectrum of the choices you can make, the far left, the far right sides, not politically, but just like saying they did nothing wrong, everything's fine, Rowan's a great guy, and saying Rowan's an extremist. When we saw the posts come out from, Jared Grimes, Josh, I'm sorry, I don't remember your last name, and then Michael Slutsky, I think the point of what they were trying to say was basically no one's an extremist until they're an extremist. That's a lot of what I got from reading through most of their posts. So I think that's like really the big point to kind of settle in here. Going out of the way and calling them extremists, I don't think is right. But I also just thinking that, Rowan's a good guy or Rowan's friends are good guys, whatever it might be. There's no reason to be attacking them this harshly over this incident. No one's an extremist until they're an extremist. And that's when everyone's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they were who they are. So I just want to kind of leave that out there with, I think that kind of covers that in my opinion, my take on the whole situation. I don't hate Rowan, but once again, they're definitely like a little bit of a middle ground here that I think both people need or people from both sides need to come together on a little bit, and have that kind of thought process. But yeah, this week getting ready for Milwaukee regionals. My week has been pretty mid, to be honest, leading up to Milwaukee. I've been sick. I got sick. I haven't been sick after an event in a while, I feel like. And we haven't had of course, some people are going to say it's because we haven't, it's because we
Azul,
don't
you're
have
not wearing your
masks.
mask.
Yeah, we don't have masks anymore. We haven't had masks for a while, and I haven't gotten sick after an event in a while, it feels like. But I was sick this week. I was really sick for like the first 3 days. And I started streaming up again on Thursday or Friday. And so yeah, been doing that. I haven't been playing PTCG Live at all. There was the Taiwan event, which was super cool to see some new format stuff. I just like kind of live reacting to tournaments in general, which makes me want to go to like less regionals throughout the year, so that way I can like be at home streaming, kind of
Bro,
watching them. To be honest,
we've
like,
had this
not all of
conversation
them,
so many
just some.
times. Bro, literally like last year, whenever you didn't do EUIC, you were like, oh man, I had a fun time like streaming EUIC. Maybe I'll do this like a few more times. And then how many regionals have you skipped this year?
Zero regionals so far.
Okay,
I mean, it doesn't mean like I'm not thinking about it more and more towards the
sure,
future, especially
sure.
once I do these kind of like streams where I'm like just watching the game, because watching it live is so much better than watching a VOD, right?
Yeah,
So,
it is.
it's a lot more entertaining to watch it live. But yeah, I was sick for most of it. Haven't booted up PTCG Live, been still making the content though, which has been I've been just having a ton of fun with all the content I have been making that's not involving PTCG Live, to be honest. So it's been a good time with that. Being sick sucked, but so starting to feel better. And yeah, we got Milwaukee this weekend. Chip, you're going to be playing. This is going to be your second event this year, right? After
That's
losing the
right.
winning in at Dallas, is day 2 on the
You got to
horizon for
bring it
you?
up, huh? You got to bring it up. Yes, yes. So I will be playing this weekend in Milwaukee, which I'm super excited for. Like Azul said, I just last played in Dallas or Arlington regionals, and I did lose the winning end. That was on the stream, so it is out there for everyone to see forever. Me losing my winning in to day 2, heartbreaking stuff. But I'm hopeful this time we're gonna turn it around. I've really been trying to practice a lot, trying to get in there and play games and feel comfortable just with tons of different decks. So whatever we land on for the tournament, I'm gonna feel hopefully decent about. Um,
I mean, you did pretty good for like that was the first time you played Kyogre at a tournament for
yeah, dude, and
yeah
Kyogre's tough, man.
at Dallas.
Yeah, and but you know, hopefully we've shaken some of the rust off. We're feeling good, and we'll
I mean, you've been
hopefully
playing
get into
some
day
locally,
2.
right?
Hopefully get it. I will be a little disappointed if I don't make day 2, to be honest, but I'm not gonna
Yeah.
like set any crazy expectations on myself or anything. Like I know I'm good enough to make day 2. I just hope that the mistake like my mistakes throughout the tournament, which I'm sure are inevitable, right? I don't
Yeah.
think anyone's ever walked away from a day 1 feeling like they made 0 mistakes throughout the day. It's maybe happened a time or two, but
Be
um
tough,
it's
especially if
really
we do
tough
play Lost
to
Box.
come away yeah, especially if you're playing a lost box deck, right? So, hopefully I can minimize my mistakes as much as possible, and that is enough to get me into day 2 of the tournament. That's really just my main goal. Anything else, obviously, I'm gonna try to do everything I can to win. Like I'm gonna treat that as my ultimate goal, right? To win the tournament. That's kind of my
Hmm.
mindset going in. So like if I'm 6-2, even though I would love to make day 2, I'm playing at 6-2. I'm trying to just getting into day 2 at 6-2-1 and getting some CP. Like that doesn't mean anything to me, getting some CP. I'm trying to just do as good as I possibly can. I want to make top 8. I want to win the tournament. So that's my goal going in. Um, if I come away with a day 2, I'll be satisfied, but I want to win the tournament. We'll see what happens though. I'm excited.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And speaking of tournaments, we got a lot of results to cover. So we're gonna kick it off with the Lima special event. There's something I don't know if I should say this because it's gonna like bring up like some controversy. At what like no, I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna say it. So Lima special event happened, and it was taken down by Fusion Mew. There was also 3 Mews in top 8 again. There was 4 at Malmo, 3 at Hartford, another 3. Fusion Mew, definitely I think showing its real deal here to stay, right?
It's pretty wild to see it win 3 major tournaments in a row. Like, I mean, even if it is a good deck, right? I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
Even Lugia, right? It didn't win 3 events in a row. I mean, it probably did at some point, but
Yeah, I
it
don't
was
know.
like
There's a lot of events.
it probably did at some point, but that's like Fusion Mew is obviously not that level of dominant, right?
And
Fusion
it's
Mew
not
is
that
not.
like that percentage of play, right? The percentage of
Yeah.
play is not probably super high. And also it's like it's not like half the best like it felt like with Lugia, half of the best players at any tournament were playing Lugia, where I'm sure that's not true with Fusion Mew, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, what is it? Like why has it why are we at a point where it feels like Fusion Mew seems so solid, right? I mean, it's if you're just looking at results, right? It's won 3 tournaments in a row. Now, I mean, the special event here in Lima was a little bit smaller, but still great players competing across the Latin America region, right?
Mhm.
So even though like Malmo and like I mean, what Malmo was 500
500.
players, yeah,
Yeah.
500. So I mean, that's not even massive for the European tournaments, right?
They've
Um,
definitely had bigger
Hartford
throughout the year.
obviously being 1,000 players, very large. 123 players. Fusion Mew winning. I'm looking at this top 8. I'm seeing no lost box. Do you think that had something to do with it, Azul?
Where are I mean, if Lost Box isn't good enough in the meta to get there though, then it just makes Fusion Mew a good meta call, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, we don't have day 1, day 2 results. And one thing I will mention about the Fusion Mews, shout out
It
of
was
course
probably
to
just a one-day tournament.
yeah, I think I mean I
Yeah.
can look that up right now.
No, I
Here, look
think
it
you
up.
need 200 players to get day 2 Swiss.
But it could have been I guess it was like a day 2 tournament maybe in terms of they just played top 8
Yeah, they just
on.
played top 8 the
Yeah,
second day. Yeah.
there was no yeah, day 2 Swiss rounds, of course, yeah. Yeah. What was I gonna say is yeah, shout out to Rodrigo getting the dub. Montoya. And they were both Fusion Mews, including Rodrigo's, was the more hybrid build, which I think I've had a little bit of experience in running some games with that. I like the hybrid a little bit better than the kind of the turbo with the trekking shoes. I feel like the trekking shoes don't very do much. And I think the actual cards is what I like to call them. If you're not playing something like a trekking shoes or an acro bike, instead you're playing actual cards that
Sure.
do a thing. It feels a little bit more powerful, and you get definitely a little bit more diverse of a, or you get a little bit better of a matchup spread having the two judge in there. There was no judge in the list that Rowan played. Second path, so it like helps your Lost Box matchup a lot. I also think, yeah, the lack of Lost City was just really bizarre in Rowan's list. The more I thought about it, like Crystal Cave is okay against Lost Box, but I feel like Lost City is always just better. So yeah, I actually really like the hybrid build, and that's what we saw both of the players in top 8 with the Meloetta playing.
Yeah, both on kind of similar lists. Now there was also a DTE kind of more traditional Mew, and this one had kind of an interesting card in
Oh, I
it.
didn't even.
he's got he's got
They
the
were watching
Squovet,
Portland.
bro. The Squovet. Crazy,
Oh
crazy.
my!
So
Actually,
this is
someone
actually
in
kind of
day two at
interesting.
day
What's
two
up?
at Hartford, someone had the squirrel in there.
So I think Squovet, I actually had thought about Squovet in Mew at some point in this format, but it was when I was trying like the cheesy dreepy stuff, right? I think Squovet is better than Pidgeot to like make sure you never deck out. Potentially. I guess they can boss K. Well, no, they can't because you're dreepying them, right? So they can't like
Yeah.
KO the Squovet at any
Oh,
point.
so you
But
don't deck it. Oh, so it's like better than the Pidgeotto because you can
yeah,
use it in
because
general.
you
It's
can use it other times, right? Pidgeot's
yeah,
just literally there for dreepy mode, right? Well,
but if you
Squovet,
open Pidgeot, you can put it back in your deck. If you open Squovet, you're Squovetted.
you got Silene, bro. You got Silene.
No, I'm just saying the Squovet is just in play for the rest of the game. Whereas
Sure.
Pidgeot, you can put back to the deck.
But
Yeah, you could.
Squovet is it even that like when playing Mew this format, there are plenty of times where it's like you've got a nest ball in
Yeah,
your hand, you've got a path to the peak, a lost vacuum you don't want to play right now, right? Like these cards that kind of clunk your hand up. Squovet seems okay, but it does come at the cost, obviously, of having a non-fusion strike Pokemon in play. So I'm not sure that it's totally worth it, but like I kind of see with what I see what they were going for here, right?
yeah. And I think the Squovet might be better than the fourth Genesect, right? Like if you're anything in a situation where you're gonna put a fourth Genesect down, but theoretically you'd for your first 3 Genesects, you want the fourth Genesect in play to draw better off the first 3 Genesects, right? Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and chalk it up and say the Squovet ain't it, but it is cute. I think someone did day 2 Hartford with it as well. I mean, like that's the thing is like I mean, you could put a Squovet in anything in any of these top decks, and it would probably be like fine. You probably want to put it in Lost Box because that sounds
Well,
miserable.
no,
But
I
like,
mean, I think like it makes the
there's
most
obviously some
sense.
functionality
Yeah,
here.
yeah,
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 there is
yeah.
some functionality here. But I'm saying like, if a deck is powerful enough, if you have one dead card, it's not the end of the world, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
And that could be the situation here, right? Like maybe the Squovet was in the list and then it just got discarded every single game.
Yeah, it's just there for it's just there for
Moral
morale boost.
support.
Yeah, the morale boost. Yeah, for sure. We had Lugia taking second. Lugia still showing up back to back seconds, I guess, back to back seconds during the week. And I think this is pretty close to. I mean, I just give kind of Reagan the credit for kind of the initial build list. A lot of people were doing the Urshifu stuff, the Stonejourner over the Yveltal, and Force Stadium and the Pumpkaboo, which I don't hate because there's a lot of Mew running around with Path right
Yeah.
now. So and Arctina as well, which we saw was in the top 4 as well. That's got the Path as well. So I'm sure. Well, actually, at what point would you play second Pumpkaboo? Would you ever play second Pumpkaboo?
Probably not because
Would be like about prizing it, I guess, or like if
yeah,
you
that
open
would
a
be pretty much it. I
research.
mean, you have a lot of ways
It'd
to find it, right? I mean,
be
it's really just four
annoying.
four Ultra Ball, four
Yeah,
capturing
probably not.
Aroma, right? Because Mesagoza, you don't care about Mesagoza for Pumpkaboo because you put your Mesagoza in play, right?
Yeah, it'd be annoying as a Mew player though if your opponent like researches turn one discards a Pumpkaboo and then they hit you with the second Pumpkaboo. But I do really like two collapse in Lugia. I think two collapse is super
Sure.
strong in Lugia, so I'm a huge fan of double collapsed. But it does feel like a little bit hard to maneuver in there when Pumpkaboo is such a high value because of how much path there is right now.
This list also has 4 double turbo and 2 V guards, so just a little switch up of the
Not gonna lie,
energy count.
I hate 4 double turbo. I was like, I hate double turbo just feels terrible in Lugia to be honest. That's something that stood out to me too, and I was like, dude, that card feels terrible. Yeah, I feel like I never want it.
And
It's
also
like
is playing the
perfect for
Stonejourner over
retreat.
the Eviltal as well. I
Yeah,
mean, which I guess makes sense with the decline of Guardy, right? But
yeah, but
with the
Mew,
increase of Mew,
the Evital's
right?
really good against Mew. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of the Journer, but maybe like Arc and even like Miraidon were like super popular, expected in the meta. But at that point, I would probably go with the 1/1. I'd fit the Stonejourner on top of the Evital, but yeah, Lugia does it again. And then we had Diego with the Arctina, world
Yeah, speaking
champion,
of Arceus.
third placed. Another Squavette in the but this one makes a little bit more sense, I feel like.
Yeah.
And this list pretty just straightforward, right? Like nothing special. Like I guess the list to kind of compare it to is like kind of Landon's, who won Portland regionals. But like the comparison right now, Charon's Care plus the Palpad get a little bit stronger of a Lost Box matchup.
Yeah, so literally, I think it's Landon's list minus 2 trekking shoes, plus Sharon's, plus Palpad, and
And then second choice belt over the
over the gloves. Yeah, yeah,
which
yeah.
does
Which
make
I
sense.
think makes
Rise and Mew,
sense.
yeah,
Yeah.
Rise and Mew, decrease in Guardy. Well, I guess the gloves did the same thing there. What is the reason to play it if what are you
It's
KOing?
literally just for
Oh,
Guardy.
Lugia, the Lugia matchup to KO the Lugia V Star with the V Guard.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, the
yeah. Yeah, it's
gloves. You're saying the
the
gloves is just
benefit
for
of
Guardy
having choice
X.
belt over it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
for sure. Yeah,
Makes
so like
sense.
I mean, gloves versus choice belt, it's literally the same in the Mew matchup. It doesn't really matter against Lost Box. You don't need either of them. I mean, I guess like what? I mean, are we doing anything with any of these guys? Bite for 20? No, yeah. So cleansing gloves not doing
No, I
anything
literally
into
had a game recently where I could get a KO with Squavette with a choice belt on. Well, not recently because I haven't played PTCG Live in forever, but the last time I played PTCG Live, that actually came up. Squavette plus choice belt.
And did you do it?
I don't remember. I maybe did.
Bruh, you would remember, so you definitely didn't do it.
I remember it's like a big deal. I can't remember for sure if it happened or not. I mean, it's a big deal. The Squavette getting in there for a knockout.
I definitely like putting the Sharon's carry in this list. That was like one of the first things I did after I saw Landon's list whenever I was testing this deck was like, yeah,
The
we're
Lost Box
putting
is too good and
a
popular.
Sharon's care in here seems super, super good. I almost wonder if Volo. Nah, not Volo. I was thinking Volo could be an option as
No
well,
shot.
but I don't think you want to. I mean, because like against Lost Box, you don't hate like attacking with a Tina V, right? And then you can clear it out of play with a Volo.
Yeah,
But
but Terrence Scribe probably makes more sense to conserve the resources. Also, like in like against other Arc decks to be able to chain your Arceus when they can or something like that is pretty cool.
yeah, for sure. Speaking of other Arc decks as well, there was one more of those in top 8 by AJ. With the Arc Dura Umbreon, kind of something we've gotten a little bit more used to seeing. It was all over the place in Hartford. I think it's going to be probably pretty popular in Milwaukee, if I had to guess. But yeah, nothing. I mean, this looks pretty similar to a lot of the lists we've seen doing well. Ryan Harris recently getting top 8 with it.
Yep.
I
Yeah,
don't think did Ryan
almost
play...
feels like
Go
I
ahead.
almost feel like this list is like kind of fleshed out at this point. Like you got 2-2 Umbreon, 2-2 Dur, a lot of Arceus, Minion, Alakazam, Halucha. The one thing that I've seen a different take on is like Colress versus Research Count. Everyone plays the Karen's Conviction and Volo for the most part. Seems the double choice belt. And then the Adventurers versus No Adventurers. I've seen both of those. As Adventurers Discovery is really good. I was playing an Arctina deck with 4 Adventurers in it. Over the researches, it felt pretty good. Like I don't know,
It
Adventures
just
Discovery
gets
is
you
like,
what you need.
especially if
Yeah.
you like Starbirth for Adventures Discovery, like that feels really clean.
I mean, in a deck like this, where you have literally what 7 different possible targets for the discovery, right? And you might want to have Arceus V Star, Duraludon VMAX, and Umbreon VMAX all in play at the same
Does
time.
happen. Yeah.
Like it does make sense. It definitely makes sense. And it's like you're not gonna, even though research is obviously one of the best cards in the history of the game, discard your hand, draw 7 cards, incredible draw power. You're not likely to find 3 V Pokemon outs necessarily off of that. And if you are, it's going to come at the cost of discarding other cards with Ultra Ball, right? Or, thinning down your hand a little lower than you maybe like otherwise, or getting rid of resources. I don't know. So, yeah, I mean, I was kind of, when I first saw this list, Nathan Stratford, I think, top 8 in Portland with it. Adventurers Discovery was one of the first things I was like, I don't know about this. I want to try some researches. And Little Dark Fury actually got top 32 in Hartford with researches and Colress as the support instead of Adventurers Discovery. But the more I've kind of just thought about it, I think it probably does just make sense. Like, I mean, if there's a deck to play Discovery in, it's probably this one, or maybe a V Union deck, I guess, but it's probably just this one.
Yeah, I think so. I think I agree as well. Yeah, I mean, I think I feel like this deck has almost become a staple, right? Like it just Arc Pile.
Yeah.
I mean, what's called Arc Pile? This is the current take on Arc Pile. I could see 2 Arc Piles being relevant in a meta. But yeah, to close it out, we had another Lugia in there, and this is exactly the exact 60. This is the Reagan 60. We'll just call it whatever.
It's actually not, because it's not.
No,
it would
is.
be listed the same, right?
Wait, what is different though? I looked at it.
What is the 4 double turbo? Cut
Dude, I'm
something for
tired
the
of this.
4th double
Yeah,
turbo.
what was the cut for the fourth? I just like saw that too. I'm tired of these
Yeah.
4 double turbos. Yeah, I don't know what the cut is there. I looked at it, I was like, oh yeah, this is no penny, no penny, no penny.
No penny. Yeah.
All right, one card different, one card different. And then another cool deck though. This is like a pretty diverse. Besides, well, there's 2 different builds of Mew, right? It's like a pretty relatively diverse top 8.
I'd say so.
Yeah, it's like not bad, right? When you look at it, it looks maybe a little bad because of the triple Mew, but there's at least 2 different styles of Mew there. But we had the Urshifu and Teleon. Is this its first top 8 for the Urshifu and Teleon? I think we've seen so far this this meta.
I think so,
Um,
yeah. Bubbled at EUIC, right? Or was it just a
and
natural 10th place? It
I
might
don't
have been a
remember.
bubble. I don't remember exactly.
And actually, this is interesting because there's no Lost Box in the top 8. There's no Guardy either, which I feel like are both matchups that the deck kind of plays pretty well into. The Arceus matchups, though, can't be terrible, right? Like, I mean, Gale
Yeah,
Thrust,
we
Monokale, and
actually had
Arceus.
this matchup on stream. It was Arctura versus Urshifu, but the Urshifu player did not draw super well. Like literally, it was just like a really clunky game 1. They lost pretty quick, and then game 2, they opened up like all 3 Intellium VMAX in their opening hand or something ridiculous, if I remember right. So, yeah, we did have our Arctura Umbreon on against this, and the Arctura Umbreon did end up winning. It was Ryan Harris, I think, who ended up winning in that one, but
Matchup seems like that could definitely be cose, though, right? Like,
yeah, I
none
don't
of the
feel like it's
arcs can
definitely like I
KO.
mean, obviously obviously Duraludon is solid against this, right? Like Skyscraper,
Yeah,
no, but you have basic energies to attack it,
attack with
right?
Inteleon.
There's
Yeah.
other things you can attack. Um
Is it? Yeah, it
it
seems cool because nothing's 1 KO on anything. I mean, yeah, you have the Urshi's 1 KO on Arceus, but past that, there's no 1 KOs kind of happening. And
yeah.
also, you can do like really cheesy. Oh no, that's not true because no one with the Arc Duraludon Umbreon deck plays Drapion. But I feel like moving forward, you'll probably want to include the Drapion so you have like a more aggressive early out. But you can use Drapion can be pretty good against the Urshifu and Teleon deck because this is something I forget all the time. But Drapion reduces its attack cost against Rapid Strike, Single Strike, and Fusion Strike Pokemon. So you can kind of get in there against a couple different types, a couple different strikes, I should say.
Type
But
strikes.
we'll forget about that one. But
This
yeah,
is
it was a cool
this
deck.
to me has felt like the coolest deck in the format, but it just is it's just not smooth
Still not
enough.
great. Yeah.
It's just I feel like your Lost Box matchup is very good. And like you said, the Gardevoir matchup seems really good as well, just because you can be so aggressive so quickly. And like there's pretty much always going to be something for you to Yoga Loop at some at some point. And
Yeah. And once I actually go like for a Zacian 1 KO, you can like loop that or Alakazam
yeah, they put so
around.
much
Yeah.
damage in play, right?
Yeah, they're helping you out with that one for
But the
sure.
deck it does just feel really clunky. Now
Yeah,
you've
it's a
just
little
got the double
traumatic.
Drapion in here for your Mew matchup, which is gonna be enough sometimes. Like sometimes if you can just set up a board of like 2 Octillery and then put a Drapion down and attack it, like they can Roxanne judge you, whatever.
Yeah.
It's like all you need is Drapion because Octillery can get you the stadium to bump the path, right? It can get your Karinas to like draw cards or I don't know. Like that's pretty much all you need because you're gonna have the guaranteed path bump through the Octillery, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. But yeah, I think it covers most of the top 8 then from Lima. Is it Lima? It's Lima, right? Yeah,
Lima, yeah. Peru.
Lima. The next tournament we can talk about in not quite in this format over in Thailand they have like triple beat, which doesn't add much to the format. But the third place deck does kind of change up a lot for that. But we can talk about the 2 finalist decks first, which were both Arc Piles. We had Arc Dur Umbreon versus Arc Dur Vulpix in the finals of the 500 person. This is like effectively a regional, I think, Thailand championships. Actually, this might be effectively their national
I
championships. I
think it
think.
is, yes.
Yeah. So Thailand, you know, national championships this is their big regional or region their big tournament in the region is what I'm trying to say
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Thailand. Yeah, and 2 Arc Piles in the finals.
Yeah, the second one is really interesting. It's kind of similar to Alex Shermansky's deck, right? But we got a Galarian Zapdos V in there, maybe for the mirror match more than anything, right? Just something
So
that can
what
kind
is
of
that for?
unexpectedly clear an Arceus out of play if
Yeah,
you're not playing around it.
Arceus popular enough where you want this. That is a little bizarre to me. That's
I
definitely
mean,
bizarre to me for sure.
Arceus, dude, Arceus is like if you combine Arctina and Arc Duraludon. Like looking at the Hartford results, it was the most popular deck in day 2 if you combine just
Yeah,
Arceus
that's true.
variants in
That's
general.
fair.
So, I mean, I don't think it's crazy to say that like Arceus decks in general will take up 20% of the meta, right? Um like that's I think reasonable.
Yeah, no, yeah. I don't know. With Mew decks kind of making this resurgence, I think we're gonna see them drop off a
Yeah,
little bit.
maybe
Well,
so,
this
maybe so.
weekend, but for the weekend that these tournaments were played, like I do agree, I guess, right? Like Arc's been hype, Arc's been hot. I do think there was still an argument for even this weekend that, you maybe don't want to play the Arc decks, but I mean, it worked out with them in the finals, right? And they were playing. Well, one of them was playing. Hang on, I don't even know. Let me look at the list. The Vulpix list was playing the Drapion. The other list did not have any Drapion. So
No.
but did have the Raihan, which allows you to kind of make an Umbreon out of nowhere. And then with a choice spell that does win a KO Mew VMAX. So you do have something to kind of work with. And they can't just kind of pick off your Umbreons on the bench or your Pokemon in general and you not have a
Wait, does it?
response. So
Am I
you have to work with.
misremembering Umbreon's second attack?
No, well, you go put the V down, you make it a VMAX. Does 160 minus 20 plus choice spell.
Oh, sure. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
you're
I have
talking.
no
You
idea
have to
what the
have two
V's
V's
second
down. You
attack.
can't.
I have
Yeah,
no.
you have to have
Yeah,
like two V's down right away. I see. I was
yeah.
like, I thought I was like, the second attack just does 80 damage. I'm pretty sure. So
Hey, it does more though. What? This Pokemon has any
if
damage
you
counters on
have
it?
damage counters on it,
Oh, how can we get damage counters on it? Is there any way to?
Houndoom.
Oh, we don't play that in here though. I was like, can we use
No,
Alakazam to move it? Like,
that's not how Alakazam works. Maybe
no.
if your opponent's not looking, right? Yeah.
Yeah, okay. You take a little bit. Can I have a little bit? I mean, they might be okay with it too. You're like, can I use Alakazam? Can I just get a couple of your? Can I
Yeah.
get a couple of your? I don't know if they'd be against
Use
that, to be honest, initially.
Alakazam to hypnotize your opponent to allow you to place damage counters on to like break the rules of the game. Yeah, there you go.
Optimal.
But yeah, um, both of these lists have a couple like interesting things, but overall, like kind of what we've seen. There's an
Yeah,
Avery in the Vulpix version of the deck, which is
probably
kind of an interesting choice.
good against Mew.
Yeah,
Strong against Mew. Not bad against Guardia, of course, as well, right? Like turn 2, you can search out with Starbirth,
yeah.
chop at their board, plus play Escape Rope. Maybe that'd be like a pretty good combo, stuff like that.
But
But look
then
at
you were talking about this third place list.
the third and fourth, both Lugias. So we got a couple Arcturs in the top. The Arcturs beating up on the Lugs here. And I think that makes sense because neither of the Lugia lists played. Well, one of them didn't play any out to Duraludon. No, well, one of them has Path to the Peak. No Path, no Single Strike Archie Food. These are both the colorless takes on the deck. So they got the Weird Ear for the 1 KO, the Snorlax for a decent single prize attacker. But yeah, no way to actually deal with Duraludon. Besides, one of them does play Path to the Peak, so you can go like Weird Ear plus Path 1 KO. But then if they just respond knock out your Weird Ear, you have no way to 1 KO like the second Duraludon potentially. So no surprise that both of these probably lost to the Duraludons in the
Yeah,
top fours.
yeah, that one definitely checks out. So this is a deck I think we're gonna see a bit more of. I think we'll see it Lugia moving away from the single strike, just kind of like from the results we've seen from Japan and here these other Asian countries. Like it just seems like this is gonna become kind of the way to play Lugia moving forward. Jet Energy, this new energy card coming out, which allows you when you attach it to move a Pokemon from your bench into the active spot, combos well with the Weird Ear. Like as we'll mention, for anyone who doesn't know, it does 40 damage for each energy attached to it. And you can load a bunch of energies into play, obviously, with Archeops. Also combos well with the Snorlax because, you know, Snorlax is a sleepy boy, puts himself down or puts himself to sleep, not down, right? And you want to get around that. Now, there is something interesting here in this third place list. Sylveon V. Azul, what the heck's going on here?
I don't. It searches for an item card.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like I could understand it. Maybe like you use it.
You got 3
turn
choices.
1, you get the Ultra Ball. The Ultra Ball gets either the Luminian for the Burnett or the Lugia V Star. I guess if you have the bench space, right, you have so many less. You're not building up towards a single strike Urshifu. You don't have T-Tars to put on your bench. So I guess I don't hate it. It seems off. It definitely seems off. I'm not a huge fan of it when I initially look at it. I'm actually surprised neither of them. And this is we do see the Dunsparce actually. Was Dunsparce in both lists? Dunsparce making a comeback maybe? No, just in one of the lists.
Yeah, just in one.
No Radiant Pokemon in one of the lists though, but then chose not to play the Radiant Charizard plus 1 Luminous Energy, which feels off as well. Like that feels like it's just really powerful potentially again. So yeah, neither of them rocking the Charizard Luminous Energy combo, or they don't have Luxray Reversal Energies. They don't have. They only have Triple Beat. That's like it's like hard to see them have new cards, but not all the new cards. It's like my brain's not quite.
Yeah, Luminous Energy was in Triple Beat, right?
Reversal energy? No, luminous energy is, yeah.
Luminous energy. Yeah,
To be
yeah.
honest, I don't know. I think so.
I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah.
I think so.
So that would have
Um,
been an option.
yeah, I'm definitely not sold on the Sylveon. That seems a little bit too gimmicky. But colorless Lugia, it's cool to see a new take on Lugia kind of doing well.
Is
Yeah,
it? Is it really more Lugia? Really?
well, if it's not like broken,
Sure.
like yeah, like it's fine. Like I'm fine with Lugia being good in this format. Just not. I just wasn't a big fan of it being good in the last format.
It and Arceus have that in common, right? The fact that they are colorless, and the fact that they like
Colorless is good.
can synergize with so many different things, right? Like you have tons of options when you're playing a Lugia deck. You have tons of options when you're playing an Arceus deck. And those are cards that will continue to evolve with the metagame and continue to evolve with new cards that come out as long as they're both legal. Arceus maybe a little bit less so since there's no new Pokemon V being printed to
Yeah,
like
so you can
pair with it, I
accelerate to
guess.
them.
But
Yeah. But Lugia, yeah,
um
Lugia's always getting more special energy, right? So
yeah.
it can only get. What if we just get back to the exact same format like a year from now?
They
Because Lugia
print
doesn't
amazing
rotate.
rares again.
Lugia doesn't rotate, so it's just waiting to like, stockpile those special energies over and over and over every new set release.
It's gonna be here
Um,
for a while, but yeah, let's look at these top 8 lists now.
yeah,
We
go
do
for it.
have a Lost Box with Zapdos, Radiant Charizard, so a Sableye Charizard deck. I was looking for the Sableyes at first. This deck layout is super
Oh,
weird. I
yeah, they
was like,
forgot
"Where
to
are the
click like
Sableyes?"
organize
There we
on
go.
the
One Miltank in here, which is kind of interesting.
the hit and run, the Hatterene, and the Regieleki V. They can't hit and run into the Miltank.
Yeah,
So you
sure.
can sit there and attack. You literally can just attack with the Miltank eventually if they don't deal with it to get through the cleft keys.
Just scrolling through real quick to see what else there was. But yeah, Zapdos and Radiant Charizard. Then we have another Lost Box. This one,
One trekking shoe.
I was gonna say, this looks like Kyogre, but there's no Kyogre in here. It's just
Where's the?
Turbo, I guess,
There's
right?
no way the trekking shoes is better than a Pokegear, right?
Yeah, if
Like,
you're
just
gonna play a one
what?
of item like that, it's got to be Pokegear for sure.
Or third force Sealstone or something because they're pretty invested into the Man, I really don't like these builds like this, but that don't have a Sky Sealstone, man. Like the Mew matchup seems so obnoxious if you don't have Sky Sealstone or Kyogre. Like I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the lack of. It's like a more
You're just
turbo
gonna get
based build.
Roxanne.
Yeah, you're just gonna get Roxanne. You don't have a like we saw it from Brennan. Cameraman got third at Malmo. They were playing that, but they were going more all out in the turbo sense. So I was like, okay, I can maybe get down with this a little bit more. Just set up all your V Pokemon because they were playing Dragonite, Raikou, Drapion, but they had two Pokestop, three trekking shoes, three Lost Vacuum. They were just like, we're just going. And then I can be like, okay, maybe no Sky Sealstone because we're just gonna set up Dragonite and Raikou and Drapion, and we're just gonna try and go, okay. Like we're just gonna ignore the Mew VMAX until the Drapion maybe deals with it or something. Um, but when you're playing like a little bit more reserved build, but not reserved enough where you're adding the Kyogre, um, you're in between. I feel like that's where then we saw kind of like that's what Hedrick played to win Bogota special event. That's where like the um the Sky Seal Sun I think it fits super well. So yeah, I was kind of surprised to not see that in those type of builds because I feel like especially with how much Mew there is in it right these days. So yeah,
We've got an
built
Arctina here
off
with the Flying Pikachu as well. This feels
peak.
like when people try to get the peak into a deck, it's in Arctina right now, which is kind of interesting that's like
Yeah,
where it slots in most natural. Like, I mean, this is not the first time I've seen Arctina Pikachu, right?
I mean I don't know where we're going with this, right? Are we trying to help our Lost Box matchup? Is that like the purpose of this? That has to be it, right? But like,
Yeah,
I feel like just like a second chance care, be more consistent. Like the Lost Box matchup is where you can kind of give up on a little bit of consistency, I guess, of course, like, especially when you have like a powerful attacker like the Flying Pikachu. I guess the other argument for the Flying Pikachu is the Lugia matchup because Flying Pikachu is really
yeah,
good into
that's what I was
Lugia.
just thinking. Yeah,
When it KOs Lugia, and then all the basic attackers, the weird
through
gears,
V
stuff
Guard
like that.
energy, right? Which Tina can't do
Yeah, it KOs it through the V Guard
unless you get
energy.
Choice Belt, but.
So maybe that's like the reason to play the Flying Pikachu more so than anything is the Lugia matchup, more so than Lost Box matchup. And it's not bad in the Lost Box matchup, of course, right? But I just think like second Sharon's Care kind of fits it better, and then you don't like add a bunch of cards that make your deck clunky. But the Lugia matchup might make up for that, to be honest, overall. And it can actually be weirdly good against Guardy because you stop Zacian as an attacker. So if you can like, if they don't have the energy built up on Shiny Arcana yet to deal with your Pikachu, or you kind of pick it off, they actually can't deal with your Pikachu sometimes. So like Pikachu's like weirdly good against Guardy sometimes.
Sure. And
You can
speaking
just
of
slap you
Guardy,
with a Guardy though.
Yeah, speaking of Guardy, that was the final list here from the top 8. This looks pretty similar to Towards EUIC deck with
Yeah, just
just a
minus
sec.
research plus shiny arcana minus sky plus forest.
Yep.
You know, so but new boss's orders artwork, and I actually think I put out a tier list on Twitter earlier, and that we know the optimal artwork. They know what's up. Optimal is the new gets. Of course, in the non-hollow version that you get from the pre-release kit. If you're running the hollow version, it's down there in like the meh or bad tier. So make sure you're rocking the
I can't believe you
non-hollow
put
guesses.
I can't believe you put my boy Lysander
It just
down in
doesn't.
meh
I'm doing
tier.
it just based on how it looks, right? So it's like the
But it's
optimal
Lysander,
ones.
he's the
What does that
OG.
mean? What
He's
do you
the
mean it's Lysander?
OG.
So why aren't you playing like Charizard? Charizard's like the OG Pokemon. Why aren't all your Pokemon decks? Why aren't you just playing
Because
Charizard or
I don't have the
Everett?
choice to play Charizard. I do have the choice to play Lysander. I guess Giovanni is like the OG,
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
Like it's
okay.
a different type of OG. Boss's Orders
I
is
do
the
have Getsus
OG
as
gusting card. Gets this just feels out of place, man. Also, like I have no connect. Like the Gen 5 is the generation of the games that I like never played. So, and I know there's like some big time Gen 5 apologists that are probably going to come for me over that one, but I don't care about Getsus, man. I don't care about him. And
I mean, I don't care
he's
about
like,
any of
why
them
is
to
his
be
coat
honest.
so big? Why is it? Yeah, that's true. Azul does not care. He just reads the text. They could all be blank, to be honest. And that's as long as he can read the text and they're not hollow, Azul does not care what the card looks like. He
I think
doesn't
some
care
cards are pretty
what
cool.
Pokemon is on the card. He just cares about the numbers and the
I
words.
did redo the tier list as far as artwork goes, and then both of the full art Getsus were in the top 2 tiers. And no one else was in the top tiers because those are definitely the coolest looking cards for sure. Are the full art
Mhm.
Getsus or the full art alternate art, whatever. Those ones, yeah. But so I definitely, I have some opinion on the artwork of cards, but I'm just thinking optimal in terms of what I'm going to be playing at events most of the time. But we're not going to be playing with that one for a little while until what's it called is legal. But I'm excited for it.
Yeah,
But
and
speaking of
then
like next format, we do have the Taiwan Championships. Once again, this is basically their big event, and this was 2,600 players, bro. Apparently, it's not just in Japan that they got like insanely big tournaments. I mean, I think NAIC could have pushed for like 3K if we had. We could have pushed for 3K for sure, but 2,600 player. Day one was best of one, which was of course cringe, but it was pretty cool to watch the whole tournament kind of unfold. Day two, and then I did like VOD review top cut afterwards, and there was a Guardy finals and mirrors, or Guardy mirror and finals.
yeah, so this tournament had tons of the new cards, Ligo. The big ones being Iono, obviously. Iono was in a ton of these decks. Definitely going to be a meta defining card. It's going to be super
Super
heavily
Rod.
played. Super Rod is another one that was in a ton of these decks, and Reversal Energy as well. So yeah, Azul, you said did you watch every stream game from the tournament or just about
No, I watched.
every day two game?
And what did I watch? I watched all of day two Swiss, and then I rewatched the top cut because it was like Swiss day two Swiss ended, and then it was like 45 minutes later. I was like, they still hadn't started top cut, so I was like, okay, I got to get to bed. I'm gonna go to sleep. But I woke up the next day and rewatched those. I watched probably 4 or 5 rounds of day one. So it's like 9 rounds day one, only 4 rounds day two, but day two was best 2 out of 3. It was a pretty interesting. It wasn't that many rounds for 2,600 players, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, there wasn't that many rounds. But when day two started and it was 9-0 versus 9, I was like, oh shoot, they had a lot of players at this tournament. There's two 9-0s playing against each other. So, but I didn't know quite how many, but yeah, they had quite a bit.
So there's a ton of Gardevoir here up at the top,
Yeah,
in top 8. And then also Palkia Chiempao, which was which is interesting to see, right? I think Chiempao, I think everyone looks at the card and kind of recognizes like the stats are good, right? This thing can do a lot of damage, and obviously it combos with Baxcalibur. But the question just has to be like, is having a medium HP two prize attacker like beat stick Pokemon in the format, is that good enough, right? And Miraidon was that, and the answer was no.
yeah. I actually don't think it really changes. I know there's 2 of them here in top 8, but the top 3 decks are all Gardevoir. There's another Gardevoir. Half of top cut was Gardevoir, and it really is just beat stick junior or senior. But it can't attack turn 1, right? Like Miraidon can. So you just beating the stick like one turn later than like Miraidon does. But like you make up for that, I guess, by having a little bit more versatility. Like you have the Palkia, which is a higher HP Pokemon. You can attack with Baxcalibur as a one prizer, and then you have Greninja as well as
So
like
it
a
did still
constant
have.
threat.
I haven't watched any of these games. They still did have Baxcalibur in the deck. I guess
Oh
it.
yeah.
Yeah,
There
yeah,
was they all had they couldn't get enough energy and play for the Chientals
yeah.
if you didn't have
Okay,
Baxcalibur.
that makes sense.
Yeah, it wasn't just like Palkia early, clean up with Baxcalibur. Like, yeah, they all played Baxcalibur, Force Superior, Energy Retrieval, stuff like that. So the neck's cool. The deck seems really cool, and the way it kind of flows and plays seems really cool. Saw a lot of it on stream, but yeah, I don't think it's going to be holding up to the King, which did take down the whole tournament, which is Guardy. And the list that won, the second place list is a lot more interesting, but the list that won, pretty vanilla. It's just straightforward.
Yeah, it's got the 4 Iono in there and the 2 reversal energy for the big new cards. Also Super Rod. I think Super Rod is kind of like is secretly one of the biggest cards for this deck, right? Um Having to play what's it called, Miriam, to get back Pokemon right now, dude, that
So
sucks.
bad.
That's so bad. So super odd, super big card for this to get back. Also did
Hmm.
play the Luxray. Is that something after watching the tournament result? I mean, is this Luxray going to be just kind of in a deck that plays reversal energy? Is this something people are just going to be
Yeah, I
playing?
mean it's in the Lugia builds, it's in the Guardy builds, both Guardy builds. I don't know. I don't think we have the list for the third place. Oh no, we do have the list for the third place Guardy, so I can peep that right now. Did they have the Luxray? But yeah, like it seems pretty good. Oh, there was not the Luxray in the third place build. But yeah, it seems pretty good. Like there was 2 reversal energy in this build, so you can hit that much harder with the Shiny Arcana. You have the Luxray to respond to Lugia early on, which I think is like its biggest strength. Gives you kind of like another out to the Lugia. And for anyone who doesn't know what the card does, if you're behind on prize cards, you can put it directly in play. It does 180 for Lightning, Colorless. And to Reversal Energy, when you're behind, provides triple Rainbow Energy to any evolution Pokemon, but not so Luxray is not an evolved Pokemon because it didn't
Yeah,
evolve to get into play, but it is still an evolution Pokemon. So you can attach a Reversal to it, do 180 with it early turns. After your opponent like takes the first knockout. So yeah, I think we will see a decent amount of it in like Guardian stuff. Like it seems pretty powerful, like a pretty good option.
definitely. And then we do have the second place list, which you said is more interesting. It does have Mewtwo V Union. It's also got the new Artisan Stadium. It's got the Gallade with the Dynablade attack, doing more damage for each Pokemon V in play. So,
Buddy catch
um,
Gallade too.
what's up? Oh, and the Buddy Catch. Yeah, I didn't even
Yeah.
see that at first. And it's got the duplicates, the water duplicates, or the Mirage Step Curlia in here.
Yeah, so it's super. It's more of like a comeback build. Like the point is to make comebacks, right?
So there's
You let
no
your
VIP pass and
yeah.
no Fog Crystal. No Fog Crystal is kind of wild.
That is actually yeah, I didn't even realize that. But that is kind of wild. But you're definitely down to go behind in prize cards. You're not trying to be the aggressor. You play 4 reversal energy. So you're trying to let your opponent cook initially and then slowly make your way your comeback. Like the Glade with the Buddy Catch, it does 160, and then you can move the energy to the bench. You get those obviously those huge hits with the Shiny Arcana. Luxray into certain matchups is very strong as well. Palkia, Lugia, one of KOs. The Gallade is fighting type, so I guess it's pretty good against Arceus decks. Yeah,
Yeah, if they have
and
3
then you,
Pokemon and V in play, yeah.
and then you still have a Guardy EX in here to go for big load ups on the Shiny Arcana Gardevoir or even the Mewtwo V Union, but you actually don't need it because once you deck yourself out, you have Super Rod to recover Psychic Energy now. So you can just like deck yourself out, Super Rod, recover 2 Psychics, put Mewtwo V Union in play, attaching Mewtwo V Union, Shiny Arcana to your Mewtwo V Union, Roxanne Path. Wait, there's no Roxanne in this book. Iono Path. That's right. You don't need Roxanne
Yeah, who
anymore.
needs
Iono,
Roxanne?
Iono Path, and then attack with Mewtwo V Union, right? So it's like a comeback build that you don't even need the Guard EX for because the Shiny Arcana, like I said, once you deck yourself out, Shiny Arcana is guaranteed double energy with Super Rod now. So Super Rod, I feel like is like a little bit of a not sleeper card, but underappreciated how much better it makes Gardevoir.
I mean, yeah, this is I think it's less exciting or people are talking about it less because it's a reprint, right? We've had this card
Yeah,
multiple
it's a
times in the
Pokemon recovery
past.
card.
Everyone just kind of knows it's a good card, but like I think especially now with like the up to stipulation on there, Super Rod is probably just better than Ordinary Rod, to be honest.
Um, I don't
Especially
know
like in those
actually.
instances where it's like, yeah, I'm just gonna throw 3 psychic energy back into the deck.
Yeah, I think it's close. That extra card can be a big difference of 4 cards versus 3.
Of course.
And I would say there may be both like just S tier Pokemon recovery cards. And Super Rod
That's
did
fair.
gain the up to that Ordinary Rod had as well. So it now has the up to. So if you have 3 Pokemon and energy in your discard pile, you could just take like 1 Pokemon if you wanted to. Whereas in the past, you had to take 3 if there was 3.
And this is actually
Um,
like the 5th time that
Night
Super Odd's been
Maintenance,
printed. Yeah, Night
Rod,
Maintenance,
Super
right?
Odd.
Yeah.
Now it is just Super Odd seems like the one they're gonna go with if they ever reprint it again, though. It's like
Also,
gonna
fun fact, this was a point of discussion this week because like the updated rules and erratas and stuff came out for the new set because pre-releases were this past weekend. Oh, by the way, I meant to mention this in the intro, but I played in a pre-release this weekend. It was actually a lot of fun.
you win.
I did well. I went 3-0. They actually didn't post the final standings, so I don't know if I won or not. I
You
can go
get
look up
anything for
my.
doing well at
No, so
pre-releases
some
anymore?
stores will do like extra packs and stuff for people who win, and some stores just give everyone an extra 3 packs after the tournament's
Oh,
over.
okay.
And that's what this store did. They just give everyone 3 packs no matter how well you did, which I think I'm fine with overall. I thought my deck sucked, by the way, at first. I opened up my packs. I got a Copper Raja EX, but I didn't pull a Q font. And
Oh
so I couldn't
no.
play my Copper Raja EX. I basically was just
How
playing
would anyone
my
KO that if you could?
dude, I
Like,
know. I was ready to sweep. I also got an Orthworm out of my packs too, so I was gonna have that
oof.
guy in there, which has like 200 HP effectively if you get some metal energy on it. I was ready to cook, but I basically just had to play my kit, which was Baxcalibur, or my kit was the Tinkaton, which I thought was good. But it was paired with Baxcalibur, so there was like no synergy. My Pokemon search was 1 Great Ball and 1 Nest Ball, so I like never set up any of my evolutions. I did pull 2 Pincurchin from my packs, which was low key the MVP. I added a couple lightning energies. The Pincurchin, I didn't mean to go this deep into like the pre-release, meta right here, but the Pincurchin does 20 flip a coin if heads paralyzed, and then its second attack, both of these attacks are for 1 lightning energy. The second attack does 100 damage for 1 if you use the other attack the last turn.
Oh.
But here's the math works out perfectly for the pre-release meta because there's a low kicks that does 130 damage the turn it evolves from nimble. So it's like for a grass, it does 30 and then 100 more if it evolved, which KOs a bunch of stuff in the pre-release format, but it has 120 HP. So you go boom, have a chance to paralyze. Its second attack only does 70 damage, so they're not KOing your Pincurchin anyway. And if you don't paralyze them, they can attack you for 70, you knock them out. Or if you do paralyze them, you guarantee knock them out the next turn. So there's a prize there. It also is good against the Water Paldean Tauros, which was in the kits. I had the strats lined up, somehow found a way to win, even though my kit was garbage, absolute garbage.
Heard it here
Anyway,
first.
back to Pokemon.
Pincurchin carries in the pre-releases. So we don't have all the lists for the top 8s. We've got a couple other Gardevoir lists that are pretty vanilla, a little bit more aggressive. The third place list, 4 rare candy, only the 1 reversal energy. So kind of like a little bit less evolved, it feels like, than some of the other builds. But not too much to really look at there besides that. And then there was another Gardevoir list. Once again, kind of the same deal. Not too much different here as well. I mean, it's got 2 rare candy. It does have an Avery in there, which seems I don't know, where's that coming up? I don't know where that's really making a big
Mirror?
difference. Mirror, maybe? You? I'm not
Oh,
sure.
were they able to play different decks day 1 to day 2?
Oh, no. That's just that's another list that was that's the Lugia list that got ninth.
Oh, okay.
Wait. Maybe
It
you're
says
right.
day 1, 9-0 with Strike Lugia. Day 2, 103 with Gardevoir EX, rank 7 into top cut. Final top 8.
Oh wait, actually you might be right. They might be able to switch decks. We haven't seen that in a while. Interesting. Oh,
Doesn't say it here
interesting.
on Pokestats.
Yeah.
Someone let us know.
Maybe they just decided to play a different deck and they were just like the cheating deck, the week to week cheating continues. Player switches decks and posts about it on Twitter. Yeah, actually that'd be interesting to know if anyone in who's listening knows were they able to switch decks day 1 to day 2? Wait,
Yeah.
translate that tweet. See what this tweet said.
Well, no.
Or
This
is it the
one, this
same?
is all they say.
No, translate this tweet.
2,400 people use the deck. One hit Lugia. Day 2, Pumpkin for. Oh, see, day 2, Pumpkin for Collapse.
Oh, so they did make a deck adjustment. Yeah. Yeah, so it looks like you were able to change like anything you wanted to. Just like and they only
What do you
but they
think
only
of that
went
format? So you competed in regionals back whenever I never played in a regionals where you could play day 1 standard, day 2 was expanded. Back then
yeah.
the card pool was pretty small. You basically were adding like 4 sets to the expanded card pool,
Yeah.
right? So it really didn't change too much.
Sometimes
People pretty
yeah.
much always played the same deck. maybe
Mhm.
with 1 or 2 updates from the old card pool, but it really wasn't too much. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on just kind of that format in general? Do you like that being able? We get that, I guess, a little bit with Worlds, right? Where day 1 to day 2, people are allowed to change their decks, but
Yeah.
that really just that feels like just 2 whole separate tournaments, right? Because you're starting
Yeah,
over
definitely.
day 2, as opposed to like keeping your record of match points from day 1. What do you think?
I mean, I definitely wouldn't be against it, to be honest. Definitely not against the idea of making that adjustment and like having like, yeah, if you go into day 2, you can just switch up whatever you want. I don't think many people would, right? But you'd have a little bit better read on the meta. It's not a full read on the meta and can kind of adjust from there. But of course, everyone can adjust from there, right? So,
Also,
um,
sometimes you like have a
I
cool deck idea in the last few hours leading up, and you like are like, all right, yeah, we're playing this deck, and you play the deck, and you realize during the tournament, oh, this would be better if this was this, or like this was a
You
little
would be able
undercooked.
to
Let's change
evolve
that.
undercooked decks a lot, to be
Yeah.
honest. I kind of don't like it though, because then it kind of negates the potential for a really good meta call initially, or a really cool deck, right? Someone just has a really
Sure.
cool deck, like Sander would just get cooked, right? Sander goes into day 2 at 8-1. It's like, okay, I'm teching for Sander. Like, I don't actually. The more I think about it, the more I don't like it, right?
Also, like you could know, like if there's only one person who's 801 and one person who's 90, you know you're gonna play each
Oh
other
yeah.
round 1, right?
All right, yeah. Cancel this. Cancel this. We're not doing this.
You can
Yeah,
hard
chalk
tech
it.
for what you know the other person is playing, so you get a free win in the first round.
Definitely not doing that. Yeah, we're chalking that idea. Don't. But if TPCI does listen to these podcasts, they might take it and use that idea now. Don't do it, please. All right. So I think that covers the results from the tournament. 2,600 players. Really cool to see. The Pokemon's huge, man.
Yeah.
Pokemon is huge. It's international. Everyone's playing it. We
It's
need some
not
bigger
going
events in NA
anywhere.
though. We need some bigger events, not just NA. I think in the western half of the world, we need some bigger venues for EUIC and NAIC. It'd be really cool to see us match those numbers at our biggest events, which are those 2 events, of course, UIC and NAIC, and even LAIC gets pretty big. Not quite as big, but you know, they'll be close behind. You know, they're not far behind. So really hoping for some bigger caps. We talked about that a little bit on the last episode. That I don't think DPCI is doing a terrible spot. I think they're doing a lot of terrible things that, you know, in general in the Pokemon TCG. I don't think they're doing a terrible doing terribly though in the terms of Pokemon events. But let's go ahead and let's talk about some of these new 151 cards.
Yeah, so a bunch of cards were revealed over the past week or so, and there's really nothing super exciting here. We were
There's a
scrolling through the
couple.
Pokebeach translations, and it's just like there's like the Farfetch'd literally has a collect attack and then an attack that does 30 damage,
It's got
like
its own article though on Pokemon. It's got
yeah,
its
it's
own. Let's go,
literally its own
Farfetch.
article. And I have to imagine it's because they're just like sporadically
Yeah.
releasing these cards, right? So it's just as they're coming in, they're getting released. But
Yeah, yeah.
um one that we both thought was kind of interesting that we want to talk about was the Gengar. It's got Poltergeist, kind of classic Gengar attack at this point. 50 damage for each trainer in your opponent's hand. Note it does say trainer, not item, not supporter state.
Very
So it like
important.
it counts everything.
He's coming
And
for
the
you.
Haunter has kind of an interesting ability, Lost Soul Return. When you play this card from your hand to evolve a Pokemon, you may choose a supporter card from your opponent's discard pile and put it into their hand.
Yeah, so I think there's like I mean it's kind of cool. It's kind of a cool build you could make with Gengar. I mean we saw Gengar Mimikyu being a cool deck for a little while with the Omastar.
I don't know if I would
Well,
call it a cool deck, bro.
with the Omastar it was cool. But
Yeah.
once you added it to Shadow Rider, that wasn't as cool. No one was
Yeah.
having fun with
Revenant
Gengar
Dusknoir and
Mimikyu.
expanded.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Trevnor expanded. But no, but Omastar, Gengar Mimikyu, that was a cool deck. Wasn't great. But yeah, I thought this was a cool one for sure. And I think the Haunter, maybe there'll be some other Pokemon at some point that can abuse the Haunter a little bit better by adding the cards. It is you specifically have to take a supporter and give it to them. But in the future, we might see something that is able to utilize it maybe even a little bit better than the Gengar. But I thought it was cool. I thought those were cool. But there is kind of a potential powerhouse that was revealed as well in the Wigglytuff? Wigglytuff, yeah.
Wigglytuff.
EX. It's got the 250 HP, but the ability, if you have a special energy attached to it, I suppose 100 HP. That's 350 HP. That's a lot of HP on a 2 prize stage 1. That's just a lot of HP. I kind of mentioned this with the Charizard EX. Eventually, when the stats get so high, it doesn't matter if the rest of the card feels derpy. because like the attack is what 90 plus 90 for 3 colors if you played a supporter. Doing 180 damage is not all that ridiculously good, but when you back that up with 350 HP, I think there's some possibilities for this card for sure.
Yeah, and the fact that you've got a little bit of energy acceleration potentially built in with a card that's coming out in our next set, a different Wigglytuff. So this
Another
is actually
tough.
something kind of cool that you get whenever you have evolving ultra rares, right? Evolving EXs. When we see this already with Gardevoir, right? The Gardevoir EX decks are playing the other Gardevoir. They're playing Gallade sometimes. You get to do a lot more cool things in the deck building process. And that is true here with Wigglytuff EX because in Paldea Evolved, there's this Wigglytuff which has the balloon therapy ability. Once during your turn, you may attach a therapeutic card, energy card from your hand to one of your Pokemon. So you get a little bit of energy acceleration. So you attach double turbo for turn, use the other Wigglytuff to therapeutic energy, attach one more therapeutic energy, just lets a Pokemon recover from special conditions, and it also can't be affected by special conditions. But in this instance, it's really mostly just to accelerate energy, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, and you're hitting for a really energy efficient and really damage efficient 180 damage every single turn.
Yeah. And you back that up, yeah, with the 350 HP. You are weak to fighting, but fighting's like not, it's like kind of whatever right now.
Bro, we got
Um,
Dunsparce too.
Got Dunsparce. Dunsparce is still around. I hate that card so much, but yeah, we still have it. Yeah, so Wiggly and Wiggly might be able to make some moves here when they release the 151, but we have no idea when we're getting the 151. I think it's sometime in July for or they don't have it over in Japan because we don't have the full reveal yet. So we'd have the full reveal
Yeah.
if we did. But I think it's sometimes in July that Japan is getting the 151. And we have no clue when it's making its
We
way
don't even know what the set's
over
going to be
here.
called over here.
It should just be called the 151 or like
I can't
Pokemon.
imagine they're going with the set name Pokemon Card 151.
Oh no, it'll call it like maybe Pokemon Original or something like that,
Yeah,
right? Like,
that's way
yeah,
better. Pokemon Original.
yeah. I don't know.
Pokemon OG.
Yeah, Pokemon Card 151 doesn't make a whole ton of sense. I agree, but yeah, they'll give us some kind of a different name. But yeah, not too much to talk about as far as the new cards.
Yeah, sadly, nothing super exciting. Hopefully, in the last few reveals that are upcoming, we'll see something cool. But with that being said, we can move on to the next segment of the podcast. Before we get to Guess That Flavor Text, we do need to take a moment and thank our sponsor, Dragon Shield. Huge thanks, as always, to Dragon Shield for being a sponsor of the Uncommon Energy podcast. Dragon Shield makes some of the best card gaming and tabletop gaming products and accessories on the market, including sleeves, binders, deck boxes, and so much more. I did rock, I actually have my pre-release deck right here. I believe these are the Lagoon dual mats that I used at my pre-release this past weekend. Feels pretty good. And I'm gonna be rocking. I'm not sure what color yet, but I gotta decide. I'm gonna figure. I might just go with the classic black mats for Milwaukee this weekend, but I've got a few colors to choose from as well.
Yeah, I still got some of the turquoises. I think I'm gonna run it back with the turquoises that I ran at Hartford. But yeah, big shout out as always to Dragon Shield for being a sponsor of the podcast. And as always, you can find them over at dragonshield.com/webshop/US or EU, depending on where you're based. And of course, they're pretty much available everywhere else besides that: Walmart, Amazon, local game stores. Find them there. Yeah, be sure to check them out and appreciate them supporting us as always. And with that, guess that flavor text. My turn to pick. Chip is up only by 3 points now. So
Is that right? Oh
no, it
yeah,
is
yeah,
4
yeah.
points. Wait,
No,
did I get a point?
you didn't get a point. No, you didn't get a point.
Chip is still up by 4 points.
Let's
I
get
thought I
it.
did. But we've had a little bit of a it's been a little bit stale for a little while. Like I mean, there's been a little bit of a stalemate. Like no one's been gaining points. I was gonna say losing points.
I'm
I don't
pretty
know how
sure
we
my
never lose points.
4 point score was literally like 3 weeks ago.
Yes, that's quite a while.
That's
Almost a
3
month.
episodes.
But it's my turn to pick for Chip. The way it works is one of us will read the flavor text on a card, and then it's up to the other host to try and guess what Pokemon that flavor text belongs to. There's 3 lifelines that you can use. If you use no lifelines and guess the card correctly, you get 4 points for each lifeline you use, minus 1 point. What set the card is from, what stage the card is, read an attack name. Chip, are you ready for this week's flavor text?
Let's get it. Come on, Azul, give it to me. 8 points up. Here we go.
Because it is very proud, it hates accepting food from people. Its thick down guards it from the cold.
It's thick down, guards it from the cold.
Yeah.
Very proud. Okay, so I'm pretty sure isn't like a down. That's like the that's like the chest feathers of a bird, I think. I want to say. And it's a very proud Pokemon. So a proud bird is kind of what I'm leaning towards, and not accepting food. So that makes me think of like a city bird or something like that. Didn't we just have P-Dove as a guess? Yeah, that was last week, and you like didn't get it. It's not going to be P-Dove. That doesn't have a thick down. I don't think. I don't
Good.
think. And also P-Dove is dumb. It's definitely not proud. Um oh
Really?
yeah, I'm huh?
You're just hating on Peter.
Bro, P-Dove, you look at those eyes, there is nothing going on between those two eyes. Not a thing at all, not a thought in the world. Yeah, so I'm
Or
definitely thinking
Peter.
some sort of bird. I'm trying to think of
How does Chip hate Peter?
proud. Could it be Mandibuzz? Mandibuzz has a thick down. I also could like be misremembering what a down of a bird is. And I also could just be completely wrong and it's not a bird, but I'm pretty sure like a down of a bird is like the like thick feathers around its neck. Could be totally wrong, but Mandibuzz's down do be thick. Um man, I might have to use a lifeline here. Let me start. Manibuzz is kind of what I'm leaning towards right now, but I don't think that it's. This doesn't seem very fitting because I don't think Manibuzz is a Pokemon that would be in a situation where it could accept food from a person. Let me use a what stage the card is, lifeline.
It is a basic.
All right, so definitely not Mandibuzz. Volibee does not have much of a down. What is an attack name? Give me an attack name.
Wave Splash.
All right. Well, is it Ducklet?
No, it is
Dang.
not. Dude, I thought I like said this and then you knew what a down was, and I was like, I don't know what this is. It is. And this will make
Wait.
a ton
Use
of sense.
use the last lifeline for anyone
Last
playing at home.
lifeline is Breakthrough.
All right. Oh, is it?
You'll get it when I tell you what it is for
No.
sure.
Is it Starly? No. Wave
No.
Splash. Wave Splash is a water flying. Is it Wingull?
I think like it's a kind of bird, but it's not.
It's not a flying Pokemon.
Yeah, it doesn't. They don't usually fly. They can't fly. They can flap.
What? Breakthrough.
Hiplup.
Hiplup.
Yeah. And when you think of Empoleon, Emperor Pokemon, very proud.
Proud, yeah.
I thought you were gonna
Dang.
get it when you got the thick down. I was like, who? I didn't even know what that was. I just assumed that meant it's like coat.
I like wasn't 100% sure that's what it was, but I was right apparently.
Yeah.
Dang, yeah.
I mean, you had to have like heard that on some kind of like Discovery Channel show at some point, and just like it's stuck, and then you just
listen,
like,
bro. I was a
recalled
Boy
on it.
Scout. I probably had the birding merit badge at some point or something like that.
Did you guys discuss thick downs when you were like in the freaking Eagle Scout? What are you, Boy Scout, Eagle Scout? What the heck, man?
Not
All
an
right.
Eagle Scout. Not an Eagle Scout.
What is the difference?
I did not finish. Well, Eagle Scout is like you
Oh.
reached the highest level of scouting. I was like
Okay.
basically there. I really wish I had just finished it. And it's kind of sad too, because my dad was an Eagle Scout and my granddad was an Eagle
Oh
Scout.
no.
And I just didn't finish it because I was in high school. I turned 16. I got a car and a girlfriend and had better things to do on a Tuesday night than go to Boy Scouts.
All right, so what does that mean for little Chip? Eagle Scout.
I mean, if he's interested in it, I think like they teach you a lot of good values and like I think having
I don't know
those
how to tie a knot,
skills
so
yeah, I do know how to tie some knots. Okay. I can start a fire, camping, we're good to go, fishing, all that stuff. I think those are good, useful life skills. So I mean,
Yeah.
like I'm not opposed to putting him in scouting, but also like we might just go camping and he'll learn it from me. So
honorary Eagle Scout from Chip, the Boy Scout.
there you go.
Okay. Teach him what a thick down is, I guess, on a bird. He'll know that at the very least, I guess. So he can take that knowledge with him. All right. Well, we talked about a lot of events that happened this weekend. There's a lot of events coming up, though, this next weekend. We're going to be both in Milwaukee, and there's also Santiago Regionals over in Chile, and then Torino special event over in Italy. And it feels weird to say. This is what I was gonna say. Like the special events, it feels weird to call Europe's special events because I feel like that does kind of put a little bit of an asterisk on the event, but they're definitely less competitive events just based on the number of players in them. But European special events, like as far as major events go, if you count regionals as major events, European special events are definitely major events because there's like 800 people at these things. I expect this one to be pretty similar. I don't know. It's in Italy. I don't know how easy it is to travel there, but so far,
I
all
mean,
the
the one in
European special events have
Sweden
been huge.
2 weeks ago was just under 500. So
But
like
that was a regional.
that's true.
Well, yeah, I guess you're talking about it
Oh,
like
it was a
as
regional. Yeah.
European events
Yeah.
in general, I guess. But yeah, like their last special event had like 800 people or something. So, um, yeah, I don't think quite puts an asterisk on the event, but it definitely is one of those things where it's like, oh, it's a special event, you know. But yeah, but
All right.
Utrecht had 700 players, so
So we're looking at the
a lot of
results of
people.
the last three tournaments. I mean, this is always what you're doing going into a major tournament when you're trying to metagame. You're looking at the past results and wondering what you're expecting to play against based on what has done well. You look at the last three tournaments over on Limitless. You're seeing Fusion Mew has won the last three tournaments. So, Azul, round one, you sit down in Milwaukee. Your opponent flips over a Genesect. What percent
Probably.
chance are you giving that they're playing Fusion Mew, and what percent chance are you giving that they're playing Double Turbo Mew? Now, I think I did ask you this last week, but wonder if your opinion or thought has maybe changed since then.
I think it's probably like 50-50 right now. That'd be my like current prediction of it. Maybe it would change a little as we get a little bit closer to the event. But I think it would change in terms of maybe more likely to be Fusion Mew. But yeah, I would definitely play as if it was Fusion Mew until I know it's not for sure. So like yeah, in that situation, it's like you play as if it could be Fusion Mew. Because like
Sure.
Fusion Mew is the deck that adds like something else to their turn to begin with, right? Like if you ever it's Double Turbo Mew and you go first, you're like, oh well, I mean, I don't really care what they do. I'll maybe prep for getting path. But if it's Fusion Mew, you have to prep for getting turn one KO'd, right? So I would definitely play as if my opponent was playing Fusion Mew if I was going first against a Mew or Genesect flip on that first round or in any
Yeah.
round throughout
You
the
should
tournament.
play
Maybe
as careful, basically
yeah,
playing around what is at some points you have to play around what's most likely, but also generally, especially in this situation early on, like in like game one of a set, right? You just want to play around you want to play as carefully as possible, right? Not put
yeah,
yourself
for
in a
the most part.
situation where, um,
You get big punish because you only put down one Lugia V or something.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Play as if that Lugia V could get KO'd if it's like in your active or something. Go get a second Lugia V, whatever it might be. Yeah, definitely. Until you figure out what they're playing. Or as the tournament develops, you might just see DTE Muse rise to the top going into day two, right? It could be like a 70-30
Now,
split or something.
say you're sitting down across from someone who you know has like done really well with DTEMU. Like say you sit down across from like Luke Smith or Sashi, the two players who got top 8 at the last tournament with DTEMU. Are you assuming they're playing DTEMU again as well there?
Um
Cuz that's also another element to it, right? Like the player
yeah.
themselves, who the player
That's
is.
like especially if I mean if there are like a quote unquote Mew player, which Luke definitely is. Um but they played both builds, so I would say still probably assume that they could be playing the fusion for sure. Yeah, you have a little bit better read on there. Where it's like maybe they're maybe not, but if they're kind of like known as a Mew player, then they're definitely going to go try out fusion again themselves. Right? Like maybe there's something to this fusion shenanigans going on here, right? And I know Luke plays a lot of Mew, so like if I know have I any extra intel on them like that, then I would say um lean towards them being the potentially the fusion build as well. Yeah, just like just assume it could be the fusion build.
So say you're someone who's been playing mostly Double Turbo Mew, because let's be real, if you're playing Mew in this format, that's what mostly people have been playing at this
Yeah.
point, right?
Hmm.
You see that Fusion Mew has done so well. It's won 3 majors in a row. What is the upside here? Why is it that Fusion Mew is the one that's doing better? Like I think as a whole, Mew is doing pretty good because Arceus decks are on the rise. Mew has always had a pretty good Arceus matchup. Mew can beat the Lost Box decks. I do think that Lost Box is favored against Mew, but Judge Path is pretty strong, right? And then also your Lugia matchup is probably okay. Um,
I think that's
and
it
you're
though.
just
Is
a
like
powerful deck. You're just a powerful,
yeah, you're
strong deck.
powerful no matter what. I mean, I think like we said with like the hybrid build, you're kind of getting best of both worlds. Powerful turn one attacks going second. The potential for quad fusion energy for big one KOs, as well as the disruption of the Judge Post path. And I think it is that yeah, I think with the fusion Mew, your Lugia matchup is favorable. as well as your Arceus matchups. I think that's like where the power of it kind of comes from. Like we mentioned, 24% of day two was Arceus decks at uh, Hartford. And like Lost Box, even though you are generally favored against Mew, it's a tough deck to play, right? So Mew, like if you just pair up two average players against each other, that matchup is probably getting close to 50-50, or maybe you could even call it slightly Mew favored, right? Like one of the
Sure.
decks is definitely a little bit easier to play than the other. So it's
Yeah,
gonna come out on
that's
top. As far as like results into day
definitely.
two, that's gonna affect it for sure.
Definitely a factor for sure because like it's easy to put yourself in a position. I know this because I've done it, right? Where I'm like, I remember at at Arlington, like I tested Kyogre right before the tournament. But like it was my first time like really in like a competitive setting playing the deck. And I had hit like 3 Mews on the day and I had beaten all of them. But I remember talking to Caleb, I think it was during the lunch break, and being like, yeah, dude, I've just been like um, I remembered in one of my games, it was, like, against Fusion Mew as well. I just, like, turn 1 Drapion for 2 prizes, and then they didn't have Lost City, so I just got it back and did it again, and then I got Roxanne and drew enough to just get it back and do it again. And I told Caleb, like, "Oh, yeah, dude, the Mew matchup feels so easy," and he was like, "Yeah, I probably would not be playing it like that."
Yeah, you definitely want to not get Roxanne. That's like step one in the. That's like the advantage of playing the Kyogre.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't get Roxanne.
Oops.
But yeah, I think Mew's gonna be pretty popular this weekend, right? It might. I think it's gonna break out of its 12%, 10 to 12% range. It'll probably get close to that 14, 16 that we saw it get up to a little bit a couple times last format. It'll be around there. I think it'll be pretty popular. It'll definitely be competing against Lugia for second most play, because I do think Lost Box will still probably hold that most play, but it could be close, to be honest. Between those three, Mew, Lugia, we could just see a bunch of 16 to 18 percenters up there. Mew,
Yeah,
Lugia, and
it
Lost
might look
Box.
more like what the meta looked like in the Lost Origin format, right? I remember I looked back recently at the meta
We're gonna have
chart
Kiram be
for
like 20% of the.
No, but I looked back at that meta chart from I think it was not Baltimore, what was that? Peoria Regionals, I think it was. And um it was like the most played deck was 16%. It was like 16,
Yeah,
14, 12, 12. Like that's what a fun meta looks like, man. Whenever it's more diverse, you could sit down across from anything the next round, right? I think that that type of meta is really enjoyable. It does make it a
yeah,
little harder to like find something to counter the meta, like a good true anti-meta
yeah.
strategy,
It's hard to beat
which
a bunch of 12 percenters.
yeah,
Beat
yeah,
all
which
the
is
12
tough to
percenters.
do.
Yeah.
But you mentioned Lost Box. Chance it goes down in play a little bit, maybe, and
I think
maybe it's not the
so.
top spot. I think it is probably going to be close between the 3 Arceus decks, Mew decks, and the Lost Box. But which Lost Box version? I mean, I think everyone knows that you're partial to Kyogre, right? But maybe let's just talk through like the pros and cons of each, right? So it feels like there's kind of 4 main ways people are approaching Lost Box right now. It's the Turbo build, it's the Sky Seal Stone build, it's the Kyogre, and then Sablezard, kind of just as an outlier, a little bit different. Pros and cons of
Yeah.
each one of them, and maybe just why it's been Kyogre for you these last couple tournaments.
I think. Well, I just feel Kyogre gives you just the better matchup spread for sure. Just gives you a better overall matchup spread. I think you could maybe argue like Sky Sealstone build has a better Mew matchup, but that'd be the kind of it. But with Melwood coming back into the mix and them attacking with Deoxys early, I don't even know if that's true anymore. If you're going turbo, I think you're going all out. I think you look at Brennan Cameron's list and you're doing
Hmm.
something like that. Pokestops and trekking shoes and like just send it. I would maybe play, especially with the Rise of Mew, I would maybe cut something for a Sky Sealstone still, um, to give you that little bit of a potential play against the Mew matchup and the Lugia matchup. That's maybe the only thing I would adjust here from Brendan's list, would maybe getting a Sky Sealstone in there, because I feel like it is really powerful in the Lugia and the Mew matchups. But I think you should be shipping it. I think like the kind of the in between Sky Sealstone build that we kind of saw that Hedrick took down Bogota with. I don't really like that build anymore. Or like the ones where it's like kind of they don't even have the Sky Sealstone in there, but it's just like the initial builds of Turbo that we kind of saw. I think you should be playing Kyogre, or you should be playing all out Turbo, kind of like Brennan, between those two builds. And I think Sky Sealstone does fit in there sometimes in certain lists. Something like this I could see being okay, but I feel like the Sky Sealstone advantage that you get in the Mew and the Lugia matchup, you have a higher win percentage with Kyogre. So Yeah, I don't know. It feels like if you're not you should be going all out turbo or playing Kyogre. It feels like, and I don't think Sablezard has any room in the meta anymore,
Yeah.
because the Lugia matchup is just too tough for that deck, and everyone has the Penny or the Thornton. But if they cut him, get that Mawile combo back in there, you could be cooking.
Yeah, so you played Sablezard with the Mawile at EUIC, but just the way the meta is shifted right now, maybe there's a tournament in the future where it's better, right? Where you can get the
Yeah.
Mawile combo in there. It's probably not this weekend, right?
We're getting there. We saw like no pennies in the top 8 lists at Lima. I think there's not a penny in one of. I don't think there was a penny in either of them.
Dude, I just
So
know for sure if I'm just assuming Reagan is gonna roll up with Lugia again, right? But I know for sure
another
if he's
top
rolling up with
8.
Lugia, he's going to have Penny in there.
The
I've
penny
seen
is so good outside of, it's just good.
yes.
It's just really good in the deck. It removes liabilities. You reset your Urshifu when Arceus decks bring it up and
Yep.
punch it. Like, it's just so strong in the deck. I just would play it because it's such a good card. It's also good against Lost Box. Like, just to remove damage from play, liabilities. You're not gonna get cheesed by Mawile as well. Like, if anyone who still has Mawile in their deck, which is not many, if any, people, like, yeah. Yeah, I think the penny's a kind of a in there for sure.
So that being said, you think Ogre's best, obviously, but which version is going to be most popular when people want to play Lost Box this weekend? Are they going to be gravitating towards Kyogre builds, or is that maybe a little too daunting for some players?
I think it is daunting for some players, but I think Kyogre will be the most popular build. Like, I think it will, maybe not by a lot. Like, Turbo won't be too far behind. But I think Kyogre will be the most popular for sure. Whether it be the single prize build, which I'm still not a huge fan of. We saw uh Raymond Long get top 8 with like an Articuno in there, Snorlax as an attacker. I don't know if they had the Zacian at Hartford. I'm gonna look that up right now because I'm curious. But yeah, I think they had Kyogre there still for sure. So yeah, I think you just like Kyogre will be the most popular, definitely. Maybe not by a ton though. Maybe not by a ton.
Yeah. So, and then one last question about Lost Box, and we'll move on. As someone who's you've played Kyogre a bunch, both this season and last season. Um, if someone's rolling up to this tournament and they've played Lost Box, but they're playing Kyogre for the first time, you got any tips or anything you'd give them compared to like how it differs from other Lost Boxes, or maybe some note about the meta specifically,
I
or
mean,
just general gameplay with the deck?
just don't tunnel vision on the Kyogre, but then don't tunnel vision on not using Kyogre, I guess is like the biggest thing. Like, you don't need Kyogre to win every game. And you don't not need it to potentially win some games. So yeah, just don't tunnel vision, I think, is like the biggest thing to kind of remember. Yeah, don't tunnel vision on the Kyogre. It's there. You don't always need it. So as you play through your turns, maybe you should give up that Mirage Gate or give up that Recycler and be like, okay, I'm giving up on the Kyogre gameplay right now to conserve this other card for this other line of play because I know I don't need the Kyogre line of play. I'm just gonna kind of go ahead and give it up at this point. Don't be like, oh well, but if I want to use Kyogre at the end of the game, I need this Recycler, and then you give up Mirage Gate, and now you can't use your Dragonite or Raikou sooner than you'd like to, or attacking with Greninja or something. So yeah, it's just like that's the biggest thing. Is like the Kyogre is very strong, it's very powerful, big win condition in a lot of matchups, but you don't have to use it to win games. But same thing, keep it around. Remember, it is your most powerful tool in the deck as well. So a little bit of balance.
So really two Arceus decks in the meta right now. Arceus, Duraludon, Umbreon seems to be the one that has gained the most favor
Yeah,
recently, but Arctina does have the results currently, with Landon getting the win in Portland. And it still did okay in Hartford. There was a couple in top 32, but overall, I mean, the story of Hartford, I think, even though Fusion Mew did win, was just kind of this deck
there's a lot.
kind of it got on the radar in Portland with the top 8 finish, and then it exploded in Hartford, right? It was everywhere
Yeah.
through end of day 1 and through day 2. Um Arctur Umbreon versus Tina. Why would you play one over the other?
Um, Arctina's Mew matchup feels worse, almost it feels like, because you don't have a fallback of like a guaranteed one hit KO when you set up a Pokemon. You do have Choice Belt Tina, which can get the one hit KO. But we even saw like Luke Smith going with the Oricorio to just basically beat Arctina, right? They had the
Yeah.
Oricorio in there. People haven't been doing that for a while, but it basically does kind of auto win the matchup for you, I feel like, playing the Oricorio in Mew VMAX for the Arctina matchup. So I just feels like the Arc Umbreon deck has just a better matchup spread. You have a lot more tricks, a lot harder to play against. You're less linear. Like,
A lot more lines of play for
yeah, a
sure.
lot more lines of play. Like, it just feels better. Arctina, to be honest, it kind of feels, it did have its big showing in Portland, but overall, it feels pretty underwhelming. as a deck right now.
Underrated
And
attack in the Umbreon, by the way.
the
The
mean
little
look,
mean look. I've seen a lot of mean looks happen to buy a turn if you
it's
need
really
to.
good against
Yeah.
Guardy and Lugia. You can literally trap them for the whole game because you just like Alakazam the damage off, and you can put a double turbo on the Umbreon so you do less damage. So you never KO their active, and then you just like Alakazam and draw your prize cards through Alakazam eventually. So you can do some cheesy stuff with mean look. Yeah, I just have so much more going on. The Arctina I think is like too linear. Your Lost Box matchup isn't that good. It's really hard to deal with Dragonite, like an early Dragonite. Your Mew matchup isn't that good, especially with Fusion Mew making a bigger resurgence. Oh, that kind of doesn't bode well for Arc Umbreon. I think you're definitely going to be wanting to rock like a Drapion and a Raihan in Arc Umbreon moving forward moving forward into this weekend for the Mew matchup. Give yourself a little bit more to work with in that matchup, I think for sure. But yeah, I'm just not a big fan of Arctina. I thought it was cool post Portland, felt kind of cool, but it really is just too straightforward, too linear.
So we've got a pretty established list here for Lugia, right? Reagan's list, second place in Portland. Grant Shen got second place with the same 60 in
Yep.
Hartford. And by the way, Reagan got third. I mean, just look at the finishes of this list. Second place, second place. Oops. Oh, clicked on the wrong thing. Second place, third place, ninth place, 10th place. Really strong finishes from this 60. And then if you could expand it out to like same 58 or 59, like the finishes are super strong. This is kind of
Yeah.
the list everyone's building around. Are there any big deviations you think that need to be made for this list this weekend? Or if you're someone who's played Lugia, is there anything? I think sometimes people feel um like not okay with just like taking a deck list that they've seen online and rolling up with it to a regionals. They feel like they have to put their own mark on it, right? Make a change or two. Like, is that something that someone should feel like they need to do for this deck? Like,
No.
is this just if you rolled up with this 60, is there anything wrong with that right now?
I mean, the only things I would say to try out, I think it's possible, like with Muse going to less heavy path builds and Arctina potentially taking a big nosedive in popularity. I think the Pumpku could maybe come out for second collapse. That'd be like a consideration. I've been doing great balls over the two nest balls, and it felt really, really good to increase your odds of seeing Archeops. But the bigger play that's actually come up with playing the great balls over the nest balls has been hitting Luminion off of Great Ball. Has felt insanely good. Just have more outs to Luminion to get the Burnett. So I've been trying that. I still haven't been punished, it felt like, from having great balls over nest balls. So I would say give that a shot, see how you like it, see how it feels. And then I think it could be a decent call to cut Punkaboo for the second collapse. You'd rather play two collapsed. It just depends on how much path there is in the format. If there's enough path, Punkaboo is better. If there's not enough path, then the second collapse definitely is the better card to go with. So less Muse are playing more path, and then Arctina, pretty meh deck, pretty mid deck. Are people going to continue to play it at the numbers that it was kind of being played at going into Hartford? Probably not, but it'll still probably be a decently relevant deck. So that's kind of like a tough call to make, but I wouldn't hate to see the extra collapse in there over the pump.
Do you have any thoughts or comments on like the mentality that people may have of like not wanting to just copy
Oh
a
yeah, I
60
mean yeah, that's
online?
definitely just like doesn't make it's just a bad mentality to have. Like if a deck's good and you like that archetype, just play whatever seems to be the best 60 for it. If you do definitely think and can put some reasonable logic behind, maybe not playing the Evital or not playing the Urshifu line, whatever it is. If you can put some reasonable logic behind that change, then sure. But also at the end of the day, it does kind of depend on your goal. If you want to play the best Lugia list, um, but uh, prep in a way that leads to you playing the best Lugia list. If you want to play a Lugia list with, I don't know, some cheesy stuff that is just probably not that good, and even you can accept that it's bad, then that's also fine as well, right? But just have an understanding of what you're doing. Don't be like, I want to play the best Lugia list, but if I just copy Reagan, everyone's just going to say I just played Reagan's list. So even if I do something like, top 16, top 8, it's like, oh, they just played Reagan's list, and I get like less credit for it. I mean, yeah, it depends on really what your goal is at the end of the day, but don't let that be a deterrent from just playing a better list overall for sure.
Where do you feel like Gardevoir stands in this meta? We haven't seen much of it in top cuts. There was one in Malmo, right? None in Lima or Hartford. Gardevoir, I mean, is it just too gate kept by Lost Box? Like, or is maybe Lost Box going to come down to that like 16% meta share? And all of a sudden, ooh, Gardevoir seems like it could be okay. Like, or is 16% still too high to take a loss?
I still wouldn't recommend playing Gardevoir. I would say it gets better to play Gardevoir, although to win the tournament, I don't think it still has a great shot because I think a ton of good players have been playing Lost Box and will continue to play Lost Box. If if good players were coming down on the Lost Boxes being played, then I think Gardevoir actually has a decent shot at the tournament, which makes it a better play. But if your goal is just to like get day 2, then I think Gardevoir is actually in a better spot. I still wouldn't recommend playing it, but it definitely is getting better for it, right? The Mew matchups has always felt pretty good for Gardevoir.
Yep.
Lugia matchup has always felt pretty good, in my opinion, as well for Gardevoir. Both of those are getting more popular. Lost Box is getting less popular. But at the high end of things, I think it's still going to be a pretty large percentage of good players playing it. So if your goal is to win the tournament, I wouldn't recommend playing Gardevoir. But day 2,
Gardevoir is
out
probably
there
pretty
too.
decent against the Arceus stuff too, right?
Yeah, you're decent against the Arceus stuff as well. So for those reasons, like, and that's if that's kind of your goal, then Gardevoir's like in a decent spot. Well, it's not good against the Arctur Umbreon. They got the Alakazam and like the Halucha that really can mess you up. It's not a terrible matchup, but that's like pretty annoying / tough to deal with. So maybe include something like a Champions Festival. I know those are expensive, hard to get. Maybe you know someone who has some who they don't care if you borrow them. So yeah, maybe you know tell them you'll only mass shuffle and borrow some Champions Festivals. um, but yeah, maybe playing one of those would be pretty good to play around some of that Arctur Umbreon, which I think will be a pretty popular deck still, probably going into the weekend, especially like I said with some of those techs added for the Mew matchup, Drapion and Raihan.
So Gudra's tanked pretty hard recently. That's the next deck for us to talk about. We haven't seen much from it since EUIC, really, where it was overall pretty popular. Um, was still kind of popular in Portland, but really didn't do super well there. Um, what do you think led to its decrease in success? And is there any reason that it could see a bounce back?
I mean, I don't think the deck was really that good overall. It definitely struggled pretty hard in Portland because there was so much Gardevoir, right? That matchup I think is definitely unfavorable. Every Lugia deck now has the single strike Urshifu. The
Yeah.
Arceus decks are getting really aggressive with the Umbreon, and they have Duraludon. And I mean, a lot of your Lost Zone matchups aren't even that good either. Like the Kyogre matchup's not that special for Gudra. It doesn't just like body the Lost Zone decks. Like you're best against the Turbo builds, but if they're getting turbo, and like going like turn 1, Dragonite knock out a Gudra or something, I don't know. It just does not seem like a good time to play Gudra. I wouldn't recommend the deck right now. I don't know if it's going to recover. To be honest, I don't think it will. I don't think Gudra's recovering. I almost feel like it's like EUIC run felt kind of fluky, to be honest. How well it did at EUIC felt. Looking back on that, I was like, I don't know. That didn't seem like that's the way that should have played out. Also, the Mew matchup, especially against Fusion Mew, can be kind of tough. Can be kind of rough. So yeah, don't play Gudra. It's not very good.
And then one last deck to talk about. Coming off a top 8 finish in Lima, any reason that players should consider the Urshifu Inteleon deck?
Rapid
Is that
Strike.
something maybe worth picking up? I think it's got a good Lost Box matchup, right?
I don't think you
But
can beat Fusion Mew.
yeah.
Even with double Drapion, like they're still winning the prize trade like every time.
Also,
So
like, doesn't Fusion
Lugia
Strike
matchup
Energy
stuff.
stop Alakazam, right? Like, and it also
Oh yeah.
stops Inteleon. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if those numbers ever matter. Your goal is
yeah,
always
maybe not
Drapion
as much in
twice.
yeah, Drapion twice. Sure, sure.
Now that's not a thing anymore because of the fusion stuff. Like the Lugia matchup stuff, the fusion matchup is tough. The Gardevoir and Lost Box matchups are good, but if both of those are kind of like, I don't think the percentage of Gardevoir and Lost Box is probably increasing at all going into this tournament compared to something like Hartford. Because we're gonna see. I mean, Gardevoir might stay about the same percentage. Maybe Gardevoir will come down. I mean, they both might come down a little bit because Gardevoir was still like what 16% or 15% um at Hartford, right? I think it was like 15%.
I can pull it
Still
up.
pretty high. And then kind of did pretty poorly going from day 1 to day 2, if I remember correctly. But yeah, I wouldn't. I don't think I'd recommend the Urshifu deck right now. I think Fusion Muse like the big reason I wouldn't play it. But Lugia is another one where the Lugia matchup does not seem great for the deck. So the deck's cool, very cool deck for sure. But I don't think it's one of those decks like I don't even like Gardevoir is like a deck where I'm like, okay, I could see you pushing for a day 2 with that. Urshifu, I could see you going with pushing for an 0-3 with that. So I would say
But also,
no
would
to
you
the
be
foo.
surprised to see it in top 8?
No, not really that surprised, but that's just kind of Pokemon in general, right? But like my statement still stands where I was like, yeah, like if you went 0-3 with Urshifu, it's just kind of like, well, that's I don't know, that's kind of the deck, right? So
Sure.
yeah, I don't think you're pushing for any kind of day 2s or anything with Urshifu, so wouldn't recommend it at all. I mean,
Any other decks?
if Urshifu hits enough Lost Boxes and Guardies, you can do anything, right? It's just like, if you dodge a certain deck enough, then you could do well as well for the same reason, right? So if you only hit those and dodge everything else, same thing, right?
Any other decks worth discussing at all? Any merit to like, I mean, I know you hate Lost
Nope.
Tina. I know you hate Maridon,
Dude, where the
Dialga,
Lost
like
Tina stands have been kind of quiet lately. I don't
yeah,
know. These tournaments keep happening. No top eights anywhere in sight for the Lost Tinas. Yeah, the Lost Tina stands have been kind of quiet lately. Is it because the deck is truly bad and they're finally coming around? I don't know, but yeah, Lost Tina and Maridon definitely aren't it. And I don't think there really is anything else. To be honest, I think the meta is getting kind of flushed out. I could see the one deck that I could see popping up and doing something is some kind of control build though. Never
sure. Can't
control.
ever
There's a
count it out,
lot of
right?
tools, right now. So just nothing feels great
Though
with it.
Sander did literally choose not to go to Malmo because he said he
Yeah,
didn't think control was in a good spot.
yeah,
Which honestly kinda based, right? That you're like, "I
yeah.
like to play control. It's not good right now, so I'm just not gonna go to the tournament."
I
Kinda
mean,
sick.
when I played against Sander at EUIC, I was like, "So is this a real deck?" And he's like, "Yeah, this one is real." What I played at OCIC was just a fun deck. So even like he showed up, he went to Australia to literally play a meme control deck, right? Like,
So sick.
and then he's like, "Yeah, this one's real. This one's real." 'Cause I played against Sander now like 3 times at 3 ICs. Maybe we'll do it again at an AIC coming up. But yeah, he was like, "No, this is the real deal here." So
That would be a rematch worth watching right there.
yeah, yeah, it'd be pretty sick, definitely.
Alright,
Um,
Azul. Well, did you have predictions or anything you wanna do? I forgot to write them down.
Yeah, we could let's do a couple. Let's do a couple. We're gonna do full Mew predictions this time around. So the first one is gonna be over under point 0.5 on Fusion Mew winning a tournament this weekend. 3 tournaments. Will Fusion Mew win one of them?
I'm going to say under point 0.5.
Hmm.
Fusion Mew does not win an event this weekend.
You do the thing sometimes where you're like, well, you picked that one, so you do that. I don't think Fusion Mew's winning. Nah, Fusion Mew's gonna get a dub. I like now that I think about it more, yeah, I could definitely get a dub. So I'm gonna go with the over on the point 0.5 on the Fusion Mew. The next one we could do, we have to come up with a number for this one though. How many Mews? There's been a lot of Mews in top eights recently. How many Mews over under on what? Could we do something like 10, 10.5
For
across all
3
three events
events, right?
for 3 events?
I mean, I think it should probably be like
Maybe a little less than that.
6.5 or something, right?
6.5. Let's give it
Because 6.5 is putting it at
2 at
like
each
2
event.
2 each, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
do you think it's gonna be like because 2 of the same deck and cut is still like that's a
That's
decent
good. That's
share,
decent, yeah.
right? Yeah.
Okay, so let's go
Maybe 7.5,
6.5.
7
Yeah, maybe
7.5.
I'm thinking too much about the fours that or the
Yeah.
threes. So let's go 6.5. I think you're right. 6.5. How many Mews in cut? I'm gonna go first on this one. And uh ooh, I don't know. I'm gonna go
I'm gonna go first, but I don't know what I'm picking.
I'm going under. I think
Okay.
Mew's gonna finally have a slower weekend. I think it's time.
I'm gonna go with over because Mew, I think it's gonna have the increase in play. And
There's
it
gonna be
is
a lot of
just
them.
that it's just powerful. It's just powerful.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I had
I do think
another
there is going to
prediction.
be. I think Drapion stocks will be up in just random decks as well,
Yeah,
like
it's just not as good
Arceus
against the fusion
stuff.
though. Like
Maybe we'll see Lugia playing a Drapion in it as well. Like I don't think Drapion's a terrible card in Lugia, to be honest.
that's actually one of the decks that I think Drapion is really powerful in for the Mew matchup, but it's not necessary. But if there's enough
Sure.
Mew, the return on playing a Drapion
Yeah.
is definitely worth it. And we could be getting to that point, to be honest, where because like you can get turn one attack with Drapion and then just follow up with your Lugias from there. So
Any
I
others as well?
had another one that I said before the show, but I forget what it was now. Um, what was it? Man, I had one more Mew
Mew
related prediction.
prediction.
Mew prediction. So we got the will Fusion Mew
Maybe
win the
which
tournament?
version would be more popular, or
Yeah, which version do you think will be more popular in
like
top
meta share
eights or
wise.
day two? Oh, they don't break
See,
them down in day twos though.
it's
We
tough.
won't
Yeah, I
know.
don't think they'll break them down
We'll have to do top eights then. Yeah, what do you think is going to be the higher percentage in day two or in top
in
eights?
top 8.
Fusion
Um,
or double turbo?
so I said I think there's gonna be more than 6.5. So if there's 7 or 3 of them double turbo and 3 of them are fusion, I think it's probably still Man, that is tough.
Now you're the one who can't
Yeah, I
decide.
know. Well, I didn't say I'm going first. I'm going first. So
All right, well, now you're first on this one, so you got to
yeah, now
pick.
I'm first. I'm gonna say that DTE Mew remains more popular
Top eights.
in top eights. In
All
top
right,
eights.
I'll take the fusion on that. I'll take the fusion on that. I think there'll be
Sure.
more fusion Mews in top eights. More fusion Mew will occupy more top eight spots than the
And remember,
double
everyone,
turbo
we
build.
are going based off of 3 tournaments happening this weekend.
Yeah,
So
there's three. There's three this weekend. 3 majors: Milwaukee, Santiago, Torino. And I think with that said, you can go ahead and send us out, Chip. Go for it.
yeah, thanks a bunch to everyone for the support as always. Just a little reminder again about getting on the wait list for the Patreon. If you want to support us in that way, we really appreciate it. Of course, just listening and hanging out with us is a great way to support us as well. So we're thankful for any of that. No, it's absolutely not something we expect from people. Just putting it out there as an option to get a little bit of extra uncommon energy content. So, if you do enjoy the cast and want to show your support in a non monetary way, the best way to do that is to leave us a rating, a review, drop us a like over on the YouTube channel, comment. Any of those type of things do help us a ton. It helps more people discover the podcast, gets more people involved in the Pokemon TCG community, which is what we're all about. You know, we want more people to enjoy this game that we've come to love and have made so many friends through. So thanks so much to everyone for the continued support. Best of luck if anyone's competing in tournaments this weekend. And if you want to stay connected with us, the best place to do that is over on Twitter. You can follow myself at Chip Ritchie, Azul at Azul_GG, and then the podcast itself at Uncommon_Energy.
Appreciate the support as always. This is a fun one. Enjoyed this one for sure. Yeah, definitely check out the Patreon for sure. Excited to get that underway. Link in the description, like I think Chip mentioned, but I forget if he mentioned it. That's why I mentioned it. And we'll catch y'all next week. Good luck to everyone playing in the tournaments this weekend. Me and Chip will be in Milwaukee, so if you want to say what's up, say what's up. We don't bite. And it's always
Hard.
I always enjoy it. Always enjoy the experience of meeting people who are fans of the podcast or my content in general or Chip's casting. We enjoy it. So be sure to come, say what's up. Catch you next week, 7 a.m. Might be on Wednesday. Probably
Probably
on
on
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Probably on Wednesday. Next week will be on Wednesday, and then back to the regular schedule of the programming on Tuesday. Peace.